All right, ready to dive into another deep dive, everyone. This time, we're tackling how to become a learning mentor and absolutely crush that interview. We've got a super comprehensive career guide to pull from, but today is all about nailing those interview questions.
It's always so rewarding to work with people who are passionate about supporting students. And remember, that interview is your chance to show you've got the skills and the heart for it.
Right. Okay, so let's jump right into it with the first question from the guide. It's a classic. What motivated you to pursue a career as a learning mentor? Seems simple enough, but I'm guessing they want more than just, I like kids.
Definitely. It's about going deeper. What's that spark? That thing that made you want to work with learners? Was it a personal experience, mentor who inspired you? This is your chance to connect that story to your desire to actually make a difference in these students' lives.
So it's personal, not just some generic answer they want to hear.
Exactly. Authenticity is key. And you know what can help you sound genuine? RoleCatcher's AI. It analyzes the job description and picks out keywords that relate to the company's culture and the specific role.
Oh, wow. So it helps you tailor your answer for each employer?
Precisely. Like, say the job description emphasizes inclusive education. You can then highlight experiences you've had that show your commitment to supporting a diverse group of learners. It's all about showing them your values align with theirs.
Ooh, sneaky. Like a secret weapon for your answers. Okay, question 2. What experience do you have working with different types of learners? This one seems to be all about showing how adaptable you can be.
Absolutely. Think about it. Classrooms are beautifully diverse, different learning styles, different backgrounds, different abilities. You've got to be ready for it all.
So you can't just say, well, I've worked with kids before. You got to showcase your experience with different types of learners.
Right. Have you worked with students who have learning disabilities? Or maybe facilitated group projects where everyone learns differently? Mentored someone from a different cultural background? Those are the experiences that show you can connect with and support a wide range of students.
And I bet those stories really stick with the interviewers too.
100%. Stories make you memorable.
Okay, question 3. How do you assess the needs of individual learners? This one feels like it goes beyond just observing them in the classroom.
You're right. It's about showing that you have a thoughtful approach to understanding each student, their strengths, their weaknesses, how they learn best. Do you start with observations? Do you look at their academic records? Talk about your process for figuring that out.
So it's kind of like being a detective.
But a compassionate one.
Right, exactly. And don't forget to mention how you take what you learned from that and create individualized learning plans. That proves you're there to tailor your approach to each kid.
Makes total sense. But whew, this is a lot to remember when you're in the hot seat. That's where RoleCatcher comes in again, right? You know it. RoleCatcher's AI isn't just for answers, it'll actually give you feedback on your delivery, too.
Hold on, really? So it's like a personal interview coach right in your pocket.
You got it. You can record yourself answering practice questions, and the AI analyzes everything. Your tone, your pacing, even your body language.
That's incredible. It's like having a secret weapon to boost your confidence.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to question 4. This one feels like it requires a lot of empathy. How do you motivate learners who are struggling with their studies?
It's not about being pushy, that's for sure. It's about figuring out why they're struggling. Lack of confidence, learning disability, issues at home. Share an example of how you've helped a student overcome a unique barrier.
So, Detective HD cheerleader, what are some strategies you found really work to motivate struggling learners?
Well, sometimes it's about breaking down complicated concepts into smaller, manageable steps. Other times you can connect learning to their interests, or even just celebrating those small wins to build momentum.
It's about finding that spark, right? Making them love to learn. Now, question 5 from the guide seems connected to that. How do you support learners who are experiencing emotional difficulties?
It's a big part of being a learning mentor. They want to know you get that emotional well-being directly affects a child's ability to learn.
So being in tune with them, being a source of support, but I'm guessing there are also boundaries, right? You're not a therapist after all.
Right. It's about being a compassionate listener, but also knowing when to loop in the school counselor or another professional for extra support.
So how do you recommend navigating that line in an interview?
Start by talking about how important it is to create a safe space for kids to share what's going on. Then give a specific example of a time you supported a student through an emotional challenge. Focus on listening with empathy, offering encouragement, and getting them the right resources.
So like, I had a student who was going through a tough family situation. I made sure they knew I was there for them to talk if they needed to, but also respected their privacy and got the school counselor involved to provide extra support.
Perfect example. Compassionate, understanding of boundaries, and a team player.
Being that steady, supportive presence in their lives. Okay, on to question 6. This one seems a little more introspective. How do you evaluate the effectiveness of your mentoring approach?
Self-reflection. It's about being open to feedback and changing things up if something's not working.
Right, because what works for one student may not work for another, right?
Right. Talk about how you keep track of progress. Do you keep notes on student interactions? Do you use assessments? Show them you're always learning and growing as a mentor.
It's about being a lifelong learner yourself. Now, I've got to ask, because this could be a game changer. How does RoleCatcher help with this kind of self-reflection?
Okay, you ready for this? RoleCatcher has a journaling feature.
Wait, seriously? A journal for job searching?
Yep. Jot down notes after each interview. What went well, what you could do differently, even your gut feeling on the company.
That's actually brilliant. A way to debrief after each interview. Super helpful.
Oh,
Okay, on to question 7, and this one feels like a tricky one. How do you measure the impact of your mentoring on learners' progress and achievement? I mean, how do you really quantify a student's growth?
that's the thing. You can't just rely on test scores.
Right. How do you capture those other wins? Increased confidence, a newfound love for learning, better social skills.
This is where you demonstrate that you understand how to assess a child's holistic development. Talk about how you use both quantitative data like grades and test scores, and qualitative observations like if they're participating more in class or getting along better with their peers.
It's about painting a full picture of their progress.
Exactly.
And that is a perfect place to pause for now. When we come back, we'll be diving into career progression, different specializations you can pursue, and even some salary insights, so don't go anywhere.
It really is amazing to see all the different paths you can take as a learning mentor.
It's so cool how this role can be both super specialized, but then also lead to so many other things. So where does someone even begin if they're just starting out?
Hands-on experience is key. The guide really stresses that. Think tutoring, mentoring at a community center, after-school programs, volunteer work, anything that shows you're serious about working with kids.
And I bet those experiences give you some killer stories to tell in those interviews. Speaking of which, remember how we were talking about RoleCatcher's AI and how it helps you tailor your interview answers? Well, get this, they also have this amazing tool that helps you build your CV and cover letter, and it does the same thing.
Seriously, it's a lifesaver. It takes what you've done and makes it shine for each specific job description, like magic.
It's like having your own personal marketing team. Okay, but back to those career paths. Once you've got some good experience under your belt, what does the guide highlight as some next steps?
Well, if you're drawn to leadership and mentoring other mentors, the senior learning mentor route is a good one. Imagine leading a team, developing programs, making a bigger impact. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, totally different skills come into play there.
And for those who really love working with a specific type of learner, say kids with dyslexia or gifted students who need a real challenge, you can specialize.
So you could become the expert everyone goes to for a certain learning difference or student population.
That's right. It might mean going back to school a bit, getting specific certifications, but it lets you become a true advocate.
So rewarding. And I imagine the rewards go beyond just your career. You're really making a difference in an area you're passionate about.
Exactly. And some people, they get into this line of work and realize, I want to take this even further.
You mean like transitioning into being a school counselor or even a special education teacher? The guide mentioned that, didn't it?
Yep. And all those skills you hone as a learning mentor, the communication, the empathy, tailoring your approach for each kid, those are super valuable.
I love that. It's like this role opens so many doors, not just to helping students directly, but also shaping education in a bigger way.
Right. And while we're on the topic of setting yourself up for success, the guide talks about certifications too.
Right, like ways to make your resume really stand out. Remind me, which ones were those again?
Well, there's the teaching assistant certification. That one's a given. But also a youth work certification. That one's broader. And then more specialized ones like counseling, special education, even behavior management.
Oh, that's a lot. So it really depends on what you want to do, but there's probably a certification out there that can give you an advantage.
Absolutely. It shows you're serious about professional development and have that specialized knowledge.
And I bet it boosts your confidence when you're working with kids too, especially those with unique needs.
100%. Now, certifications are great for the resume, but the guide also talks about having a strong portfolio too.
Ah, right. Showing them what you can do, not just telling them. Yeah.
Right. Think about it. Lesson plans you've made for different types of learners, testimonials from parents, or even students about the impact you've had. Maybe even some data showing how your help led to improvement.
So instead of saying, I'm amazing at creating engaging activities, you show them the activity and the results.
Exactly. Proof is in the pudding. Right.
Right. But making a portfolio on top of everything else that can feel overwhelming. But wait, wouldn't RoleCatcher be amazing for this too?
You bet. They have a whole section for building a portfolio. You upload your stuff. Their AI suggests how to organize it, highlight your best work, even tailors it to each job you apply for. It's pretty wild.
Seriously, a personal brand manager for your career.
Right. Okay, so we've talked qualifications and all that, but we can't forget about networking either. Conferences, those workshops, even online groups, those aren't just for learning new things. They're about connecting with other people in your field.
Oh, 100%. Finding mentors,
Mhm.
people who get it, who can support you, that's priceless.
And you never know. Your next amazing career move could come from a chat at a conference or connecting with someone online.
I love that. It's always changing, always evolving, which means there are always new opportunities.
Oh.
But speaking of evolving, let's get back to those interview questions. We got more to cover, and this next one often trips people up. How do you work with teachers and other professionals to support learners?
It's all about teamwork with this one. You're not on an island, you're part of a whole support system. They want to make sure you get that.
Right. Building relationships, good communication, all working together.
Yes. Think of a time you worked really well with teachers, parents, other professionals to support a student. Did you work with a teacher on a new strategy? Collaborate with a speech therapist to come up with a communication plan? Tell them a story.
Showing off those people skills, so important in this role. It's not just the kids, it's everyone involved.
Exactly. All right, question 8. This one can feel a little scary, but it's your chance to shine. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult parent or guardian and how you handled the situation.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. Bound to happen in this job, though.
For sure. They don't want some fairy tale answer. They want to know you can stay calm, handle conflict, find a solution. The key, empathy. Remember, even if you don't agree with their approach, parents want what's best for their kids.
So how would you go about answering this kind of question in an interview?
Start by really listening to their concerns, even if you disagree. Try to find that common ground, and then explain what steps you took, always focusing on open communication and what's best for the student.
So, for instance, I had a parent who was worried about their child's math grades. I made sure to really hear them out, acknowledge how they were feeling, and then I explained my approach and the strategies I was using. We actually came up with a plan together, and I promised to give them regular updates on their child's progress.
Nailed it. You're showing them you can handle a tough parent, work with them, and put the student first.
Turning a challenge into a positive. I like it. Okay, ready for the final question in this deep dive.
Let's do it.
All right, question 9. How do you stay up to date with changes in education policy and practice? This one's all about proving you're in it for the long haul.
Exactly. Education's always changing. The best learning mentors change with it. They're looking for that passion to keep learning and growing.
So how do you show that in an interview?
Tell them what you do to stay informed. Do you read industry magazines? Go to conferences? Online courses? Give a specific example of something you learned recently and how you've used it with your students.
I went to this amazing webinar on using tech to support dyslexic students. Now I'm trying out some of the new tools and strategies I learned. I think it's so important to stay current on everything new in education so I can give my students the best support.
Perfect. You're showing them you take your professional development seriously, always looking for ways to be even better.
It's more than just a job, right? It's about that dedication to those kids.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, everyone, that was our deep dive on how to become a learning mentor. I hope you feel as prepared for those interview questions as I do now.
Me too. You've got this.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher is there every step of the way with amazing tools and resources to help you land your dream job. So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and never stop believing in the power of education.